Hi, and welcome to GameSack. In this episode, we're talking about run and gun games.
Now, it's important to specify what our criteria for a run and gun game is. And firstly, it must be a 2D style, predominantly side-scrolling game. It must have a multi-directional shot, and it has to be fairly linear construction, no necessary backtracking or anything like that.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple criteria, but let's have a look. I'm pretty excited. Contra by Konami, released in 1988. This game was one of the main reasons why I owned a NES growing up. It is so filled with non-stop action and fun that I remember feigning sickness to stay home from school to play it all day long. The game features 8 stages and end bosses for each stage. Stages are broken up into side-scrolling stages, vertical scrolling stages, and a few third-person corridor stages. Your character is equipped with the usual pea shooter for his basic weapon, and he can shoot in 8 directions, which is super useful to kill all the enemies that are all over the screen. You can upgrade your weapons by shooting down icons that float across the top of the screen. Icons drop awesome weapons such as a spread gun, laser, homing missile, and screen-clearing bomb. Stages have some nice variety and nice graphics. The music is super and a must-have on your MP3 player. The game also supports the Konami code for 30 lives when you feel like actually beating the game. If you don't know what the Konami code is, please go back to your Sega Master System. This is a must-own game. A little tidbit, the Famicom version of this game had an extra chip installed for awesome things like cutscenes and background animations not found in the US release.
Gunstar Heroes was the first game made by Treasure, a band of ex-Konami employees who apparently got sick of making Contra games. This game is awesome with a ton of action and super fast speed. You can mix and match your weapons from the 4 available. The gameplay is so frantic that I usually have a couple of seizures while playing. Totally worth it though. However, I gotta say that I usually turn it off during the dice maze portion of the game. And from what I hear, I'm not alone. Still, it's a great game overall.
Gunstar Superheroes by Treasure, released in 2005. After the awesomeness that is the original Gunstar Heroes, fans wanted more and asked constantly, like a whiny 9-year-old girl. To shut people up and go against their no sequels rule, Treasure gave in and brought this to the Game Boy Advance. For the most part, this gameplay is very similar to the original with a few added touches and a few taken out as well. You will even notice a lot of similarities from the original to this sequel. Control-wise, taken out of this is the throw action, and new is the melee actions, which can be pulled off with button and D-pad combinations. Also taken out is the ability to combine weapons, and now 3 standard weapons are available at all times and can be switched to on the fly. This is a must-own game, and my only complaint is that it's a bit hard to play on a small screen with smaller buttons.
Midnite Resistance is a translation of a Data East arcade game. It's a fairly simple looking game, that's for sure. Most people hate the control in this game, but personally, I love it. What you do is you can turn your gun on or off with the A button, and you hold the B button to lock it in a direction. This works so much better than the later Contra games where you need to hold one of the shoulder buttons to do the same thing. Unfortunately, this version is single player only compared to the arcade. I love it, and the music is awesome. It's much better sounding than even the arcade game.
Super C by Konami, released in 1990. How do you make a great game like Contra even better? Don't change much, that's how. Super C for the NES is more of what made Contra great. Great gameplay, beautiful graphics, great weapons, outstanding music, and tons of carnage. There is one modification in the game that I like over its predecessor. They took out the 3D corridor levels and replaced them with overhead vertical scrolling levels. I like this edition much better. Other than that, everything else is exactly what you love about the original Contra. Oh, and no Konami code here for 30 lives. It was replaced by another code for only 10 lives. This is also a must-own game. Contra 3 by Konami, released in 1992. How do you make an 8-bit Contra better? You make it for a 16-bit system. Everything about 8-bit Contra is here with some added graphical, musical, awesomal punch. Awesomal? No. Well, anyways, this game has both side-scrolling levels and overhead levels. A lot of people out there don't like the overhead levels, but me, I do like them. I think it's kinda cool. With dual weapons, huge bosses, and awesome 2-player action, this is a must-have for your collection. One of the best running guns for the 16-bit era.
Contra Hardcore was made by Konami after they were abandoned by those who went to farm treasure. This game will slap most gamers back down on their ass because it is so damn tough. The game is hyper spastic too. The Japanese version has 3 shields that deplete before you lose a life, but they took this away from the US version, so everything is just a one-hit death now. But once you take the time to memorize the game, you should be okay. I keep wondering how much better this would be if they still had the treasure employees that left when they made this. The graphics are really a mixed bag. Some of them are really good, some of them are okay, and some of them are just ugly as sin. Just look at this dinosaur. This has got to be one of the worst looking dinosaurs in any game ever. Who is the artist that drew this? The music is alright, I guess. It's average. I wouldn't say it stands out in any way. Overall, this is a great game, but I think it could probably be even a little better.
Gun Force by IREM, released in 1992. Well, this is technically a run and gun game, but it should have been called a walk-in gun. The gameplay is plagued by slowdown. It has so much slowdown that you could watch a complete episode of Baywatch and not miss any action from the game. The gameplay is standard fare, but what is strange is that only enemy bullets will kill you. You can walk right through an enemy and no damage will be taken. This is very strange to me, as I'm used to the opposite in every game I play. The graphics are colorful but don't have a lot of detail. The music is average and can be toggled on and off by the select button. This is a nice feature so you don't have to manually turn down your audio receiver when you get sick of the music, which will happen. Button layout is backwards, jump button is where the shoot button should be and vice versa. This is just a poor excuse for a video game, and how it passed Nintendo's seal of quality is beyond me. You should avoid this game at all costs.
Oh my god, Dave, I'm so excited. I finally get a chance to use my Neo Geo in an episode of Game Sack.
I know, dude, that's so awesome. Neo Geo has one of the best run and gun games out there.
That it does indeed, and it's called Cyberlip.
Ew! That's not the one I was thinking about, but okay.
Let's check it out. Oh man! Oh, this is heavy. So many megs. So many. Neo Geo is the real deal. Pure arcade action. Cyberlip. Ah, Cyberlip. Now this was one of the early offerings for the Neo Geo, and as such the graphics are average at best, but they can be downright creepy at times. I suppose if it weren't for the unlimited continues, the game might be pretty tough, but honestly, I can't really tell because I'm always tempted to continue. It's a slow movie game and, well, it's kind of boring. Thankfully, this would not be the Neo Geo's last attempt at the run and gun genre. I'm a Gunnar! This is Metal Slug X. Now I see no reason to show each and every individual Metal Slug game as they are all pretty damn similar, but X here is probably one of the better ones. Hell, it even has an X in the title, so it has to be awesome. Metal Slug is known for its amazing sprite animations, but that's only part of the sheer awesomeness in its graphics. This particular version allows you to turn into a mummy and you go way slow as a result. The mummy stage in this game does tend to drag on and on though. You can also turn into a fat ass and even your weapons and bullets become fat. That's awesome, it makes me want to gain even more weight in real life. Metal Slug was ported to just about every console known to man. This is the Saturn version of the first game. It is a really great game, and you should try to find one of the versions to play, otherwise you are missing out.
Contra 4 by Konami, released in 2007. Developed by WayForward, who develops mostly crap except for A Boy and His Blob on the Wii and Shantae on the Game Boy Color. The cool thing about this game is that it utilizes both screens of the DS as the playfield. You must watch both top and bottom screens for enemies and power-ups. WayForward did a great job with this game as it has the Contra feel through and through. The game is super difficult, but it really boils down to memorization, just like the old days, right? Once you figure out enemy patterns, it gets much easier. Control is hard, and so is playing on the small screen, but a loyal fan will take this and run with it, and have fun nonetheless. Music is good, but not quite as good as some previous Contra fare. If you have a DS, this is a game that you must own.
Gunner's Heaven on the PlayStation is a shameless ripoff of Gunstar Heroes. You can see the similarities from a mile away. But that doesn't mean it's a horrible game. And it's actually fairly good, but it's certainly not great. It was a really early game for the system in Japan, and it was never released in the US. It did come out in Europe where it was called Rapid Reload. This single-player title is really tough, and I found it hard to retain my interest throughout the game. To be honest, I'd much rather play Gunstar Heroes.
Contra Rebirth by Konami, released in 2009. This is an attempt by Konami to have another look at Contra as it was in the glory days of the game. 2 new characters, a new storyline, and some ugly cutscene graphics. It plays almost exactly like Contra 3 on the SNES. You can have 2 guns and 4 weapon types, and that you can switch to on the fly, but missing from Contra 3 is the ability to wield both of these weapons at the same time. Some new levels and remixes of older levels keeps the action fresh, and some remixed tunes keep the feel of the original games. I played this game using the Classic Controller Pro, and it felt great. Overall, I think this is a great game that you should get at some point before the Wii Store service is gone. Man, Joe, this episode is so awesome so far. I love it. But what about games like Contra Legacy of War and Neo Contra?
No, see, those are predominantly 3D games, and we're looking at predominantly 2D side-scrolling games.
You're right. I totally forgot the criteria. Jeez.
Well, I'll forgive you this time, but next time, you get the machete.
Whoa, hey, we don't need to get hostile here, Joe.
Let's get back to our predominantly side-scrolling 2D games. Contra Shattered Soldier on the PlayStation 2 hates me, and the feeling is mutual. Everything is made up of polygon graphics, but it is technically a 2D game. I never felt using polygons for 2D gameplay looked right, or even good. As a result, the game looks funky at best. The graphics are very dark and grainy. There is nothing good about them here other than the first boss. This game also features incredibly lengthy boss fights. My ADD does not like boss fights that seem to go on and on and on and on for years.
Hardcore Uprising.
Hardcore Uprising is a downloadable game for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. This is the PS3 version here. I'll be honest with you, at first I hated this game, but I kept playing. As I played, I earned fake money where I could buy weapon upgrades, more lives, and things like that. Suddenly I was having a blast with this game because it gave me incentive to keep playing, even if I couldn't get very far at first. It's kind of like grinding in an RPG, but to me that's fine and I really like it. It makes me want to play the levels over and over and over again instead of just getting tired of them. Like the Japanese version of the Genesis Contra Hardcore, this version features multiple shields for each life, and you can even buy more. This game was developed by ARC, makers of Guilty Gear, so you know the animation is going to be pretty awesome. The 2D graphics combined with the 3D backgrounds looks kind of weird, but it looks about 1 billion times better than Shattered Soldier did. This is a fantastic game, and from the looks of it, it's on track to being one of my favorite Contra games ever. Hooray for Cartoon Contra!
Geez, Joe, there are a ton of run and gun games out there. You know what? I still got a lot to get to, and I don't want to bore all these people for no reason.
Well, we probably will miss some run and gun games, but let's take a really quick look at some of the others we haven't covered yet. Some of these are true run and gun, some of them have elements of run and gun. Let's take a look. And that's our selection of run and gun games for you. Dave, what was your favorite run and gun game?
Oh, well, I think
my favorite was probably Gunstar Heroes on the Genesis. It's really fun. Or maybe even Hardcore Uprising. I mean, that is just fantastic.
I wish you'd stop interrupting me like that. Anyways, my favorite is definitely Contra 3 on the Super Nintendo. That game is so awesome. It's on a Nintendo system and it's just awesome action based. And you should try it with me. You want to play?
Yeah, right. Will you quit taking all the power-ups?
No way, dude. First come, first serve.
Dude, stop it!
It's just a game.